Welcome children. Today we are going to start the second chapter of your economic textbook standard 9, People as Resource. In this chapter we are going to cover the following headings. You can see the first one is People as Resource. Then we are going to learn what is human capital, the economic activities, market activities versus non-market activities, quality of population, and the last point is going to be unemployment. So we are going to cover all these 6 important topics of your lesson, People as Resource. Children, let us understand the meaning of these two words, people and resource. Now, what is people? People means the population, the entire population. Example, Indian population as a whole, not anything specific, but as a whole, people means the entire population of the country. Resource, as you have learned last year, you have learned the chapter on resource and human resource. Anything which has utility or which can be transformed into benefit. And as you know, I have been telling you children last year also, humans are considered as an ultimate resource because they have the ability to transform gifts from nature into valuable resources that can be utilized for useful purpose. For example, there is a gold mine in the country, but when people do not have the skills to take out the gold from the mine, that gold mine is of no use. So you see, the humans can transform these gifts from nature into more valuable resources. That is why people are called as the ultimate resource, or humans are called as the ultimate resource. Now children, population should be considered as an asset for the economy of the country rather than an liability. Now when the population of a country is huge, okay, like India, we have a large population, we consider it as a liability. Why do we consider it as a liability? Because we need more resources like food, health facilities, job creation in order to support them. But if we look at it positively, yes, a healthy and an educated population can become an asset for the country because they can spend more time in doing more productive things. So here when we talk about population, we refer to the skills and the capabilities of the people which contribute towards the economic growth of the country. These humans play a significant role towards the economic of the country by contributing to productivity and the other resources that are there, other physical resources, natural resources, they become useful because of the inputs of the human resource. So population is an asset rather than a liability. What is liability? Burden. Okay, an asset is something which is a gift, okay, a boon to the country. Children, population refers to people or human resource. Now if we consider the population as a liability, we won't be able to make progress. But if we consider this population as an asset, it will lead to productivity and growth of the economy of the country. But how can we make this population more productive, okay, so that it becomes an asset, a gift or a boon to the country? We can make it if we invest a lot of this in education, health and training. When we invest in these 3 sectors, we invest our population by giving them education, looking after their health, giving them training, then it turns out to be a good investment which is called as human capital formation. Like in the same manner, when we keep our money and invest it properly in various stocks or mutual funds, what happens? Your money starts growing and it leads to the progress and productivity, and you bring lots of money comes home where you can buy lots of things. So when a country invests the human resource by giving them proper training, health and looking after their health, what does it lead to? It leads to more economic and leads to increasing the GDP of the country. So you see children in this slide, how does the human resource become an asset? When we invest in education, healthcare and training, it turns to be a human capital. We have a lot of capital, lot of resource which will contribute towards the economic growth of the country. So children, how do we define human capital? Okay, so human capital refers to the skill, the knowledge and the experience of a person means the population, that contribute to the country's GDP or economy. So a person, a population, any person and the entire population, if they develop the skill, knowledge and experience, they contribute towards the growth of the country. Okay, and that is why we must consider the population as an asset, and we have to invest in the education, health and training of our people, and it turns out to be human capital. Okay, now let us look into some of the examples. Children, here are two examples when the country invested in the farmers, especially in the farmers, when they trained them to use modern means of irrigation and machinery, and also to use high yielding seed varieties. What did it result in? It resulted in the green revolution, and when the green revolution started, we could increase our productivity. Where we were hardly growing anything, now we were growing so much that we could feed the people of our country and also sell it to the other countries. Okay, so when the country invested in training our farmers by using all the modern technologies, it increased the productivity of the land many folds. Okay, similarly we see the boom in our IT sector, that is information and technology, and today we are one of the best force in the IT industry. Many of our people are going abroad and creating wonders. In fact, the world is looking at India for providing IT professionals to other countries. Okay, so we see this, when the country invested in the people, we see so much of growth in the country. So these two are two perfect examples when the population becomes an asset to the country, only when the country invests in them. So you see children, an investment in humans through training, giving them proper healthcare facilities, education, gives high returns. Okay, and it is a proven fact that a person who is educated earns better than an uneducated one. A person who is more healthy can be more productive than an unhealthy person. So you see, humans or the population of the country are a resource, and they are superior to all other resources like land and physical capital, because humans can make use of land and capital. Land and capital alone cannot become anything useful on its own. So we see that investment in education and health definitely yields better results. Let us take a case study and understand this better. Children, let us understand this better by looking into a small story of two friends, Sakal and Vilas. Both these friends lived in the same village. Okay. First, let us look into Sakal. Sakal's father was an agricultural worker. He worked in the fields. Mother was a housewife who looked after the house chores and looked after his younger brother. But both his parents were very keen that Sakal goes to school, so they sent him to a village school. And Sakal was a sincere student. He was very keen to study further. So looking into that, they thought of sending him to higher education. They did not have money, but they took loan and sent them to a college where he learned and got a degree on computer programming. Very soon he developed his own computer program and got a very good job. Okay. Now let's look at Vikas. Now Vikas' father was a fisherman, and he passed away when Vilas was only 2 years old. So the mother had to now support the family, so she took up the job of selling fish. She got the fish from the landowner's pond and then sold the fish in the mandi for only 150 rupees. Okay, and with that money she would feed her children, but she could not send her children to school, nor could she look after their health and nutrition. Okay, so we see that Vilas now was not very healthy boy, and very soon he developed arthritis also. Uh, uh, with with the passing years, the mother became very weak. She was unable to go to the market to sell fish. So this job of selling fish was taken up by Vilas. He used to sell fish in the market, for which he hardly earned anything. So children, what did we learn from this story? Yes, let us compare the story of Sakal and Vikas. We have seen that Sakal went to school, Vikas did not go to school. Sakal was physically strong and healthy because the parents looked after his diet, and because Vikas' mother hardly earned anything, she could not pay attention to his health, so he developed arthritis. You see, the parents took loan and sent him for further education, so he acquired a degree in computer programming, earned well. Vikas had no other option because his mother became old, and he took up the job of selling fish in the market, for which he earned very less. With that less money, Vikas could not support his family, but Sakar, because he earned well, he could support his family. So what do we see, children? An investment in human, yes, especially if you invest in education and training, will definitely yield better result. And it is a proven fact, as I told you earlier, educated person earns better than an uneducated person, and a healthy person is more productive than an unhealthy person. Children, let us understand these two words, vicious and virtuous cycle. Now children, you see, educated parents understand the value of education, and they invest a lot of their money and time and energy on their child's education and to take care of their health and nutrition, so that they have a secure and a better future. And this, they finally results into the growth and economy of a country. And they can also be productive in employing the illiterate ones. They get jobs, so the illiterate ones also benefit from them. Now why is it a virtuous cycle? Because in coming generations of this educated class also educate their children, so it is a virtuous cycle. All of them get educated, they get proper education, they develop, enhance this skill, which in turn will lead to the economic growth of a country. Now what is a vicious cycle? They are uneducated who do not invest in education and health because they don't have the resources to it. So what happens? The coming generation also remains poor. They are unable to get out of that. So that is called a vicious cycle. So now you understand, children, why the parents are sending you to school to learn and to get educated, to secure a better future for yourself, so that you can earn properly and in turn benefit the society. So let us look at this country, Japan. How has it become such a well developed and rich country? Yes, they do not have any natural resources. In fact, they have to import all the natural resources from their other countries. Yet they have become so rich and developed. Okay, they are the most advanced countries in the world. How did this happen? Yes, because the country has invested in its human resource, invested in its people, invested in its population, and especially in the fields of education, health, and training. And then these people make efficient use of all the resources that are available, and with the help of technology, Japan is now one of the most developed countries in the world. Okay, and so we see how when we invest in the people of the country, it becomes an asset for the country and leads to the economic growth of the country. So human resources are an asset if we invest in their education and health and training. Children like Vikas and Sakal, people are engaged in various activities. We saw Vikas sold fish, and Sakal got a job in a computer firm. So the people all across are involved in some kind of economic activity, and this economic activity we can divide into three sectors. Now, which are the three sectors? First one is primary sector, then secondary sector, and the third is the tertiary sector. Now, what is a primary sector? Okay, it is an activity which is connected with extraction and production of natural resources like agriculture, fishing. All these come under the primary activity. What is secondary activity? It is an activity concerned with processing or manufacturing of natural resources like making steel, weaving cloth, anything that we get from nature, and then they are manufacturing it. The third is the tertiary sector. It is an activity which provides support to both primary and secondary services through services like banking, insurance, education, trade, transport. All these come under tertiary sector. So there are three types of economic activities: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay. Economic activities are divided into two types. One is market activity and the other is non-market activity. Now, what is market activity? When a product or a service is produced and sold in the market, it is called market activity. And when some product or service is produced only for the purpose of self-consumption, it is called as non-market activity. Now, to understand it better, look at these pictures. So you see, if you do some make a product or do some service, you sell it in the market, what do you get? You get paid for it. Okay, this sold, you get money for it. That is called as market activity. Then are some work or product and service that you do, which you do it for your own self consumption. Like a farmer, he grows crops enough to feed his own family for his self consumption. That is a non market activity. Like an housewife, she does all the household work only for the benefit of her family members, but she doesn't get any pay for it. When she doesn't get any money for it, it is called as a non market activity. When you are paid and you get money, it is called as a market activity. In India, culturally, most of the market activities are performed by men. Okay, women are more likely to do non-market activity for which they are not paid, like taking care of children, cooking, cleaning the home. All these are the non-market activities which you see when a housewife performs this. She does not get any money for it. Since non-market activities are carried on by women and are not paid, so they are not included in the national income. But however, if you employ someone for cooking and paid, then that is included in the national income. So culturally we see in India, men go out to work and women would remain at home, for which they would do all the work which they were not paid for. Okay. Children, education and skill are the two factors which determine how much of a salary a person is going to get, or how much of a wages he is going to get, or how much he is going to be paid for his job. So education, if he is highly educated and has good skills, then obviously he will get a fat salary. Okay. So these are the two factors which determine the salary of a person or the wage of a person. And in India, we have seen mostly girls are preferred to do housework. They are not really going to colleges to get higher education, because education is less and they have lesser skills. Obviously, when they go out to work, their income is also less as compared to men. But children, today we see that even the women are getting into higher professional colleges. They are getting the same degree as the men. So we do not see much of inequality in pay between men and women. They are almost getting equal pay as the men, because they are also acquired the similar skills and similar education as the men. So they are getting equal pay. As I told you, the two factors on which pay depends is your education and skill. If you have that, you get the pay. So nowadays girls are also moving out. We see a cultural change in our country where girls are getting educated and almost equal pay they are given as compared to the men. Now moving ahead to the next topic of this lesson, quality of population. Now what does quality of population mean? Now the quality of population determines how much the people of the country or the population of the country contribute towards the national income. Okay, now how there are two factors which the quality of population depends on, that is the literacy rate, how educated the people of the country are and the health of the people of the country. So these are the two factors which determines the quality of population. And definitely the quality of population ultimately decides the growth rate of the country. A literate and a healthy population are an asset to a country's growth. Now children, let us look into the story of Sakal once again. So we see Sakal's education in the initial years of his life bore fruits for him in the later years of his life. What were the fruits? He got a good job and a handsome salary. So we see children how education was an important input in Sakal's growth. Okay, so that is why your parents now send you to school to get educated. Now with education being so important, what are the three things that we can get? We can get a good job, a good salary, a secured life. We develop good values, and in turn we contribute to the society and the country. So you see, education plays a very important role and improves the quality of population, which ultimately contributes to the national income of the country and to the society and for the person's growth and well-being. Now children, as I told you, one of the most important factor for the quality of population is literacy rate. Now what is literacy rate? It is the total percentage of the population who can read and write. For example, if I say that the percentage of literacy percentage is 51, that means out of 100 people, 51 persons can read and write. So that is the meaning of literacy rate. Children, if you look at the literacy rate of India, we can see a drastic change coming in the literacy rate of India. When we almost got independence, when the census was done in 1950 and 51, the literacy rate was only 18%. Then as the years went by, another census between 91 and 92, we see the literacy rate went up to 52%. The census in 2011 and 12, literacy went up to 74%, and the recent one, that is in 2019, literacy rate has increased to 81%. That means out of 100, 81 persons are literate. So we have seen a drastic increase in the literacy rate of our country, which definitely has improved the quality of our population. So children, in order to improve the literacy rate of our country, the government of India has introduced a number of programs. One of them is the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which is for education for all elementary children in the age group of 6 to 14 years. They are going to be provided free education of all children between the age group of 6 to 14 years. The government of India has also started midday meal schemes in all elementary schools. This was done so that there is no dropouts and children attend school, they improve their nutrition level, and they all get educated, which in turn improves the quality of population of our country. So let us look at the efforts made by the Indian government to improve the literacy rate of our country. First, I told you was the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which was launched to educate all children between the age of 6 to 14 years. They started midday meal scheme for proper attendance and better health and nutrition to the children. Then in the 11th five-year plan, the government focused on higher education. So many schools and colleges were opened up, okay, to provide quality education to the population of our country. And vocational institutions were set up where skill training was given to them. They also introduced Navodaya Vidyalaya in each district, and the expenditure of education was raised. In 1951-52 it was only 0.64%. In 2003 and 4 it was 3.3%, and presently it has been increased to 4.6%. Expenditure on education is still less, but we should increase it more. Now, another factor for improving the quality of population is looking after the health of the people of the country. If we have healthy people in our country, it will contribute to the growth and progress of the country. Now, in this regard, let me ask you a question. Any firm, organization, their main objective is to maximize profit, to get more and more profit. And how will they get more profit? When they employ educated, skilled, and healthy people. Because healthy people can work more and the output will be more, they'll be more efficient and contribute towards the growth of the organization or the firm or the company, and in turn lead to the growth of the country. So why will they not employ unhealthy person? Yes, because he'll be weak, he'll be absent many days, he won't be able to come to work, he'll be less efficient, which will not be good for the firm, and it will not lead to the overall growth of the organization, and in turn will not help in the growth of the country also. So health of the person of a country is very, very important, and this we have learned in this pandemic, how our health system now has to be upgraded so that people can be taken care of and our country can progress further. Children, how can we know that the health of the people of the country are good? Okay, there are two indicators by knowing yes the country's people are healthy. There are two indicators. One is life expectancy and infant mortality rate. Okay, now if we see over the years, people are living more due to better medical facilities. So what is life expectancy? It is the number of years a person can expect to live. Now in 1947 the life expectancy of a person was only 32 years. By 2018 it has become 68.8, and 2020 it is now 70 years. So maximum the person can live is 70 years. Earlier people used to die early, so they would hardly contribute towards the progress of the country. So more healthy people, more progress for the country. And earlier infants used to die due to infections. That rate also, death rate of the infants has also come down. Now children, let us look into the efforts taken by the government to improve the health of the people of the country. Many hospitals and clinics have been established in rural and urban areas. Free health checkup campaigns are set up regularly. More medical colleges have been opened up. The GDP for public health is 1.28, okay, which should be more. And we see now in this COVID scenario how the government is speeding up vaccination to stop the spread of COVID, okay, so that people can go back to work and lead a healthy life. The next topic is unemployment. Now children, what is the meaning of unemployment? Yes, people who are willing to work and are able to work at a given salary but still cannot find a job. That is called as unemployment. Okay, they have all the necessary qualifications, they are good, they go ahead, but still when they approach an institution they do not get a job. Okay, so when they do not get a job, it is called as unemployment. They are healthy, they have the qualifications, they are willing to work but still cannot find a job, is called as unemployment. Now, which people we cannot count as unemployed? Now, one is the person who is not willing to work. Secondly, a person who is old. And thirdly, a child, okay, who needs the support of the parents. They obviously cannot work. So these three do not come in the category of unemployed. Now there are two types of unemployment, one in the rural area and the other in the urban area. Now in the rural areas we see two kinds of unemployment. One is seasonal and the other is disguised. Now what is seasonal? Now especially in an agricultural sector, crops are not being sown or harvested in all the months of the year. So you can say I put tick marks. So in these months when there is harvesting and reaping of crops, then there is employment. What happens to the other months? The other months the farmers do not get any job, they have to take up something else. So that is called as seasonal, normally in the agricultural sector. Another kind of unemployment again in the agricultural sector is disguised. Now what happens here? Unemployment here means when people appear to be employed. Now suppose there is a field which requires a service of 6 people, okay? Then but 9 are working in that field, in the same field. That means there are 3 extra people who come under the category of disguised unemployment, and even if they are removed, the work can be carried on by the same amount of people. Production will not decrease. So in fact we see this kind of an unemployment is called as disguised unemployment. So even if they are removed, the work and the production remains the same. Now in the urban areas, the kind of unemployment we see is educated unemployment. People with all kinds of degrees, they pass out, but yet who are willing to work under any circumstances, willing to get that amount of wages at a low wage also they are willing to work, but still they are able and healthy, but still they cannot find a job. That is called as educated unemployment. So let us recall all the 3 kinds of unemployment. In the rural sector we have seen seasonal and disguised. In the urban areas we have seen educated unemployment. Now what is seasonal? People who are not to find a job during some months of the year when the demand of labor is lower than usual. Okay, and disguised refers to a situation where the number of workers in a job is more than actually required to do that job. The extra number of workers are called as disguised unemployed. Okay, and in the urban areas, when a person is educated, okay, he is able, he is fit and healthy, but still cannot find a job, okay, that is called as educated unemployment. Now children, what are the negative effects of unemployment? Yes, we see first is wastage of manpower and resources. Now when a person we have spent so much of money on his education, on his health, still cannot get a job, instead of turning into an asset for the country, he turns into a liability, a burden for the country. And even the youth person who is not employed, he gets in the feeling of helplessness and despair. Okay, he feels his life is worthless. The quality of life decreases because he doesn't have the money to upkeep, and it overall affects the economy of the country when there is lots of unemployment in the country. India is facing that, but somehow we are managing to get more jobs, opportunities for people to get involved so that they become an asset rather than a liability to the country. Children, with this we come to the end of this chapter, but before we end, let us read a story to know how people could become an asset for the economy of a village. Okay, so you see there was a village which consisted of several families. Each family produced enough to feed its members, and each of them met their own needs. They made their own clothes, taught their own children. But one of the families decided to send one of its children to an agricultural college. That boy got his admission in the nearby College of Agriculture. After some time, he qualified into an agro engineer and he came back to the village. So he proved to be creative, and he could design and improve types of plows which increase the yield of wheat and other crops. Thus, a new job of agro engineer was created and filled in the village. The family in the village then sold the surplus in the neighboring village. They earned good profit, okay, and which was shared among all of them. So, inspired by the success of the families, after some time, held a meeting in the village. They all wanted to have a better future for their children. So, they requested the panchayat to open a school in the village, okay, and they assured the panchayat that they would send all would send the children to school. The panchayat, with the help of the government, opened a school. The teachers were recruited. All the children of the village started coming to school. After some time, one of the families gave training to his daughter in tailoring. She started stitching clothes for the families of the village, for everyone now wanted to buy and wear well tailored clothes. Thus, a new job was created, that is tailor, tailoring business. This had another positive effect. The time of the farmers in going far for buying clothes was saved. As the farmers spent more time in the field, the yield of the farms went up. This was the beginning of prosperity. The farmers had more than what they could consume, so now they could sell what they produced to others who came to the village market. Over time, this village, which formerly had no job opportunities in the beginning, now you see had many like teachers, tailor, agro engineers, and many more. So this is a story of a simple village where the rising level of human capital enabled it to evolve into a rich with complex and modern economic activities. Okay, so this is how we can turn it into an asset rather than being a liability. We can generate so many jobs like this. Okay, thank you.